Let's start, though, with reports that the Chelsea boss, Enzo Maresca, could be in line to replace Pep Guardiola at Manchester City if Guardiola leaves the Etihad at the end of this season. Well, the Manchester City manager still has a year and a half of his contract left to run, but The Athletic's David Ornstein has reported that he could bring his 10-year stay at the club to an end this summer, and his former assistant might replace him.
This is a very well-sourced report in The Athletic, which came out today. I would start off by saying that Pep Guardiola has a contract at Manchester City until the summer of 2027, and Enzo Maresca has a contract at Chelsea until the summer of 2029, and Chelsea also have an option to extend that by a further year. But everybody knows that last Saturday, Enzo Maresca came out during a news conference and said that he felt that he wasn't being supported by some people. He wasn't more specific than that, but obviously there are tensions behind the scenes at Chelsea. I think that has played a part in the reports which we've seen today. Also, the fact that Enzo Maresca has switched agents. A couple of months ago, he moved agents, and he's now represented by Jorge Mendes, one of the biggest agents in world football, somebody who also has a very good relationship with the sporting director at Manchester City. I think we are entering the realm of hypotheticals. If one day Pep Guardiola was to leave Manchester City, would Enzo Maresca be one of the candidates to replace him? I think definitely, because he's done a good job at Chelsea, and also because historically he has links with Manchester City, having worked there previously.
Yes, as Carve said, Maresca has history at City. He spent the 2022-23 season as Guardiola's assistant, having previously worked there as head coach of their elite development squad, where he won the Premier League 2 title. So, how do the two compare? Well, Guardiola was 45 when he was appointed City's head coach. That's the same age that Maresca is now. However, Guardiola had over 400 games under his management belt at Barcelona and Bayern Munich, nearly 3 times as many as Maresca has at Parma, Leicester and Chelsea. Guardiola had also won 21 trophies, Maresca just 3, the Championship with Leicester, the Conference League and Club World Cup with Chelsea.
Plenty to get through with Dave Reed, with Dan and with Carve Solokol, our chief correspondent, who joins us because we're going to kick off things with all things Chelsea, and particularly Carve, their manager, Enzo Maresca, who last week told Carve that he'd experienced the worst 48 hours of his tenure, and then last night claimed he's happy and falling more in love with his players. Carve, let's start at the beginning. When he came out and said what he did last week, what were your immediate thoughts?
Well, it was a bit strange because what he said came after Chelsea had won at Stamford Bridge. He made the comments on Saturday night out of the blue, and he didn't really want to clarify the comments. He just said, I feel that many people are not supporting me and the team at the moment. I went to his news conference on Monday, asked him multiple times whether he'd like to clarify what he said. Who was he referring to? Was he referring to the fans? No, he said he had a good relationship with the fans. Is he referring to the media? I don't think so, because he's got a pretty good relationship with the media as well, although sometimes he doesn't like what people say about him, especially on TV and social media. So then that just leaves the sporting directors and perhaps the ownership group at Chelsea. And we know what the structure is like at Chelsea. He's the head coach, he's not the manager. So it just looks like behind the scenes there is some tension between Enzo Maresca and the people he reports to.
And Dan, what it did is, as Carve says, it came out of the blue. It was all a bit cryptic. So suddenly sparked all this speculation over who he was referring to, thrust the club into the spotlight out of nowhere, really. Is that a bit of a dangerous game to play, do you think?
I think so, yeah. At a big club like Chelsea, I think it is. Ultimately, I think results will dictate his future. I don't think he's fell out with the players. I think they're still playing for him. It looks like they're still playing for him. Obviously, it was a bad result against Leeds United last week. But then, yeah, last night they backed it up and they won, albeit it was lesser opposition. But they still have to get through that tie. And with the players that are coming in, obviously the signings, that some of them have hit the ground running, some are still trying to get there. I feel like he's using the squad pretty well. So yeah, the fans are on side, the players are on side. So yeah, there's something obviously ruffling his feathers a little bit, and whatever that is, we're not too sure yet.
Do we have any detail on what that is, Carver, exactly? And actually, is it such an issue that his position could even be under threat?
I think what it is ultimately, I think it's down to the fact that he's not the manager, he's the head coach. And you have to put, when you're the head coach, you have to fit into the structure that has been put in place at Chelsea. And that structure is not going to change. So you have to accept that after every game, you're going to have debriefs with the sporting directors. You're going to have to accept that from time to time, the owners are going to express their opinions as well. You have to accept the fact that you're not going to be in charge of recruitment. You have to accept the fact that the medical department are going to have a big say in how often you can play certain players. So it's a real team behind a team. And at some points during Enzo Maresca's time at Chelsea, there has been tension in that team behind the team. That is the best way I would put it. Now, is his position under immediate threat? I don't think just because he said what he said on Saturday night, it means that Chelsea are looking at replacing him or getting rid of him. I think what it does do is just lift the lid a little bit on the fact that there is tension behind the scenes, and it is something that Enzo Maresca wanted people outside the club's inner circle to know about, which is why he made the statements that he did on Saturday night, and which is why he didn't take those statements back on Monday. Because on Monday, at his news conference before the Cardiff game, he had multiple opportunities to say, look, there is absolutely no issues at Chelsea at all. You're getting the wrong end of the stick. I don't have a problem with the fans. I don't have a problem with the media. I don't have a problem with the sporting directors either. All he would say on Monday is, I said what I said, and I'm not going to add to it. So he definitely wants it out there.
Do you think that show of support we saw from sections of the fans last night singing his name in the Cardiff game, will that hold any sway with the hierarchy?
Not really. I think the fan base are a little bit split on Enzo Maresca. The fans last night, those are the hardcore fans who go to away games. They're almost like the sort of old school fans. There are other fans as well who are not convinced that he's the right person for Chelsea, necessarily doesn't get Chelsea, doesn't play the Chelsea way. They don't like the tactics. They don't like all the rotation, although that is not just down to him. So I wouldn't say the fan base are 100% behind him, but I think Chelsea fans in the main do accept the fact that he's doing a difficult job pretty well. And he's made Chelsea world champions. They won a European trophy. They got back into the Champions League. And last night, they got into the third semi-final under him in just 18 months.
Yeah, actually, we just saw his record there. It's not too shabby at all, is it? What, 61% win rate? Danny's won a couple of trophies already. They're what, fourth in the Premier League at the moment. Would you say he's doing a good job?
Yeah, he's definitely steadied the ship from the last 2-3 managers they had previously. They obviously didn't last too long. What he's done, he's worked at Pep Guardiola, under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, and Pep's probably got control of everything. He's probably looking at that and going, that's what I want. I want a little bit of that. And he probably feels he's done enough to maybe earn that. But Chelsea and Man City are two total different clubs. They're ran really differently, and yeah, he's just fighting that little battle at the moment. Listen, he might get that power, but I think you've got to win a few more trophies to do so.
I mean, one thing you can't say is that, you know, whether it's him or the sporting director or whatever, but financially in the transfer windows, he's been backed.
He has been backed. I mean, Chelsea have spent a lot of money. They've got a model where they buy young players. That sometimes makes his job more difficult, because you would think most managers, head coaches would want more experienced players in their squad as well, but he's had to buy into that. I think sometimes there's been tension behind the scenes when it's come to recruitment as well. For instance, at the start of this season, when Levi Colwill was injured, it looks like he was going to be out for the whole season. Enzo Maresca went public with the fact that he wanted the club to sign a new centre-back. Now, that was never going to happen. That was not club policy at all. They feel they've got enough centre-backs in their squad as it is. So that was another sort of sign that all is not perhaps what it should be behind the scenes at the club. Not everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet.
Do you sense he might have some more experience then? The ability to bring in some more experienced heads into that?
I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think he would want more of a say when it comes into recruitment. And, you know, sometimes he doesn't get what he wants, but that's just the way things work at Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, on the pitch, Dan, they've got to navigate a busy, tricky month or so. A lot of games, same for every team at the moment. I mean, if you look at what they've got coming up, Newcastle and Villa back-to-back, and then they start the new year at Manchester City, and then you've got the return of the Champions League, etc. in the new year. It looks like a tough period. Does it feel, with everything going on and all the noise at the moment, this is a significant period for Maresca?
That is a tough period. It doesn't just look like it. That's a tough period. Newcastle away, I know there's talks about their form, but at home Newcastle are a different proposition at the moment compared to away. So that's a really tough game. Obviously, Aston Villa are flying in the league this year. Got some really good players, some dangerous players. So yeah, Chelsea know that the next probably 4 weeks is pivotal, and it's probably pivotal for Enzo Maresca as well. Look, there's probably not too many out there waiting in the wings, really. When I look at these high caliber managers, there's not too many about, and he has done a great job. So I wouldn't be too ready to push the button on him if the results don't go well over the next few weeks. I think he's done a great job, but yeah, it's a difficult run.
And they've got those games in the Champions League when it comes back in January as well. They've got Paphos at home and they go to Napoli. And Carver, you look at the current table, they're 13th, which obviously means they've got some work to do if they're going to avoid a playoff. How much importance is being placed on the Champions League at the moment with this Chelsea project, if you want to call it that, where it is?
I don't think anybody at Chelsea is expecting them to win the Champions League this season, in the same way as Enzo Maresca is not expected to win the title this season. What he's expected to do is improve on last season, perhaps win a trophy if Chelsea can. The important thing is to be back in the Champions League next season. For what it's worth, I actually think Chelsea have got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the Premier League, because the Champions League, once you get into the knockout stages, it's knockout football and anything can happen. But whereas the Premier League, I think the people who run Chelsea look at the Premier League and think, look, let's be realistic. We know we're not going to finish above Arsenal or Manchester City this season, but if Enzo's still here next season, then the target has to be to win the title next season.
What we do know is that, you look at that squad and there are some exciting players, Dan, and Estevao, probably the one that gets a lot of fans off their seats at the moment. Well, not right now because he's injured, of course. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's too serious, but we saw, the Barcelona game, just how exceptional a talent he is. How much do they miss him?
A lot. I mean, they've got loads of wingers and loads of players and loads of different options they can have, but he's one player that's electrifying. He can get fans off their seats. They look for him. He outshone Lamine Yamal a few weeks ago, and it's similar. Barcelona looked to Yamal all the time. Chelsea looked to Estevao to create something, to make something happen, and he's fearless. He wants to get the ball in a half turn and go 1v1 against a defender, and 9 times out of 10 he beats them, makes stuff happen, and yeah, he's the next wonder kid to come out of Brazil. So that says it all. He's going to be in the World Cup squad for sure for them, and he's probably going to be the next poster boy for Brazilian football. So yeah, there's a lot riding on him, but they've got other players. I mean, Pedro Neto stepped up last night. We're still waiting for Jamie Gittins to really nail down a place in that starting 11. Garnacho's there. He's producing here now and then. But yeah, I think Estevao's the main winger at this moment in time for Chelsea.
And as someone who works with young players in their day-to-day job now, the Barcelona game was exceptional. Then the next couple of Premier League games, he's pretty quiet. I think he got hauled off at half-time in both of them. How patient do you have to be? How understanding do you have to be that young players are sometimes going to blow hot and cold? It's just part of their development.
Yes, I think Enzo's managed him really well. I don't think he's put him in straight away, and he's played him loads. I think he's been in and out, but then he's had a small run in the team. I think, look, when he's played, he's done really well in the main. I think he's pushing Pedro Neto for a starting position, which is all you can ask, and it just creates great competition. And I'm sure he'd rather have him fit than not to be in with a shout of starting.
Particularly with so many big games coming up for Chelsea. Carve, Dan, for now, thank you very much.